It's a little loud. Let's pull it down a little bit. Okay. So, I don't know what I want to do today. Been feeling a little bit off. Not sure why, but still getting back into the swing of things. So, yesterday I was messing with more motion blur, more animation smear, by having a figure rotating quickly to the point where it became messier. And I enjoyed working in that messier space. And so instead of having this like figure right here, when it twists, then you have like a fully blurred guy where there's not really discernible elements. So maybe I mess with it in a square sort of thing, where it stretches up, then settles, and then it goes this direction out, and it widens, and then it condenses, and then it stretches this direction, and then it condenses, and then I do that where it's sort of doing multiple elements at the same time, where initially it's sort of like 1, 2, 3, like maybe 4 frames in any direction, and it settles, but then afterwards it does like 4 frames, getting, instead of from 1 to 2, it's 1 to 3, and then 4 frames back to the beginning, sort of splitting up this square initially like this, and then splitting it up sort of into having these 2 sections, and then see what it looks like, the idea of it being blurred into one section and settling back into that initial position. I think that's what I'm going to do, but I need to cut some paper to prepare for this. And for that, I need to free up this space, grab some paper, and go from there. So here's this selection. And I'm going to fold this in half so I have a reference point. And then unfold it. Settle into its position. And cut this in half using straight razor box cutter of sorts. I don't know what this, it's an Ultra blade, but I don't know what you'd necessarily consider it as a retractable blade, probably. Let me make sure. Okay, yeah, the snowball is registering. Snowball is the mic that I have. So these are the leading edges here. Press that down, let that loose, and we'll do half of each of these. This animation will end up being probably, let's see, 4, 8, 16. 24, 28, somewhere around 32 frames probably. I think I cut enough for that, but who knows? I will find out. I should know, but I don't. And let's do that bit. And I think I'm gonna first draw this out using this grid, just because it'll make things a little bit easier. Can I get away with 4x4? I do believe I can. So let's draw this out. Half an inch over. And let's just be a straight edge here. And let's go. It does not have to be perfect at all. This is just a guideline. I'll get a little bit closer in on this in a moment once I settle into the spot where I'll be doing a little bit more consistent work. Okay, so these are here. And we're going to be going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Playing with multiples and stuff like that. Motion blur, but I think I might do this a little bit more. I don't know, maybe it will get looser. Maybe it'll get looser as I go further along into the animation as it gets a bit more extreme with the movement. Let's crop this down a little bit tighter. And this better. I'm going to be working pretty much just in this space. So that should be good. And let's get a brush. Any of these brushes in better working order? It looks like this one might be. I'm actually going to do this slightly different way. Okay, so now I can sort of start again, because these are in small bouts. This is number 5. I don't know if anyone was looking or seeing the fact that on the cassette tape, the other side, the label is ripped, and that's because I was considering trying to use my label printer to print out some stuff for that and then cutting it out, but I just never got around to actually doing that. So I just have the front label ripped off of the A side of this tape because I did it to see how cleanly I could remove it and didn't really go so smooth. So it's at where it's at. Cool. And that was a notification about me filing some tax stuff and that went through. Also, I didn't talk about the fact that I got a band-aid on. I scraped my knuckle while doing laundry. I grabbed the laundry basket weird. And it's a plastic one, and so there's a seam of the mold that has a little bit more of an edge to it. And scraped my knuckle and started bleeding a little bit, which is not great when you're doing laundry. So this is number 17. Hey, she is fluorescent. Thanks for joining, if you are watching. And hello, Tamara Gigliotti? I don't know. I'm not great. I can fake a Spanish accent, but anyway, thanks to everyone who's watching. This is 17. 18 is next. I really love animation smears. I like them. This one's getting particularly chaotic. just do this as a square. Okay. I think that's it. Thanks. Thanks for following. You can interrupt if I don't have like a regular sort of dialogue going as I'm working. Then I just keep silent. I've gotten in that sort of habit. But if you have any questions, stuff like that, feel free to ask them. I'll do my best to answer. At this stage in the work, it's even a little bit less that I have to think about because I'm just filling in solids. I'm not sure how you ended up here, but I'm just going to throw you some links if you're interested. You can check out YouTube is going to be the most similar to this. It's primarily a collection of these live streams, but there's also some sped up versions that are a little bit less of a time commitment to go through and watch. Oh, okay. Ask a notification that you were following me on Twitch, so I wasn't sure if you were new to things in general or what, but appreciate you following and for making some conversation. New to Twitch? Yeah, I think most of the people who are following me aren't. There are some people who seem to be more familiar with Twitch, but I don't have too much of an overlap with my like Instagram audience and people who watch Twitch. I think they sort of separate out. People who are looking for art like mine tend not to be as familiar with Twitch, but Twitch is a more comfortable format for these long form, like taking a couple hours animations process things. Not as great on Instagram. Also, to get a multicam setup like this on Instagram, you have to do workaround stuff. And so what I was using something called Yellow Duck, and it still works fine, but the process of setup, it generates a new stream key every time that you're doing a stream, which is annoying to deal with, and there's a delay, and I can't like moderate anything. So switched over to Twitch. I had to get a Twitch account for that. Well, thanks for joining here. Hopefully you can find some other folks who you find interesting. I know a couple people who are on Twitch, but not too many in the realm of art that's not as centered on most of the stuff that I see is more video game culture and anime adjacent things, or it's people who have built more of a personality that people are following or interacting with. There is an art like section of Twitch, but it's not as much of what I'm interested in. It's not bad, it's just not exactly what I'm looking for. And so I was trying to make a channel that I would be interested in, at least passively. So that's sort of what I'm moving towards. I know that there are better ways to engage with people on this platform, but I haven't quite gotten to investing in familiarizing myself with those. I was trying to think of the right word for that. But there's a lot of people on Twitch. Go right ahead and draw some stuff. This is pretty slow. I had at least one other person who talked about treating this like working alongside someone else, and that it was comforting in that way. And I'm guessing a lot of people who are on other channels on Twitch following other artists are sort of are likely experiencing that same sort of feeling of wanting to work sort of alongside other people. It has some of that, but I'm personally not a big fan of working with other people, but it's because I've become more self-conscious when other people are watching. I've gotten more comfortable with time, and I guess this is sort of the ultimate of like only people watching. I'm not actually seeing the other people working as well, but yeah. Well, right now is not the best time to be in those shared working environments. So Twitch makes sense as an alternative. It's also nice because you can just sort of set it to the side and watch more passively, which is what this sort of works best with, is that passive element. This also keeps me accountable in a different way. I take far fewer breaks and have, like, there's the big one distraction of working and having other people view it, but if I'm just working by myself, it's super easy to like start playing a game or look at my phone or something like that. And I do that here and again while streaming, but not nearly as much as when I'm come on, separate out here. Not nearly as much as when I forget what I was saying. I got distracted trying to separate that paper, but take far fewer breaks. Looking at my phone and doing nothing when I'm streaming. Usually pretty good at getting hyper-focused, though I do have a tendency of either sort of being like, this is the one thing and it needs to be done, and so I will do it. And this is the one thing that needs to be done. Oh wait, here's another thing, let me work on that. Oh wait, here's another thing, let me work on that thing. And having that sort of a domino effect of finding new things that need to be completed, new tasks, and then slowly returning back to the initial task. which I think is something that comes up with people who have like ADHD, but I've never been diagnosed with something like that. If you don't want to talk about it, feel free, but what sort of podcast are you developing or working on? Is it one that you're like the host or like just a guest for an episode or something? I did college radio. I went to SCAD in Atlanta. It was a pretty small internet-only radio. Got built up a little bit more with time as things had a little bit more accountability and consistency with elements of it. But it was all music-based things. And it was only broadcast online. But it was nice because most of the student body, including myself, were out-of-state students. Which meant that people that I knew back home could listen easily. And they would listen to me read off PSAs and stuff. That is sort of probably the thing that helped me get most comfortable with this sort of format, where you talk not to another person, but to another person. Yeah. It's tougher in some ways and more difficult and easier in some other ways. Like you have an automatic audience sort of built in by having public broadcast things. People still listen to radio a lot. I don't notice it as much because I live in an area where I take public transit primarily, and so even if I wanted to listen to the radio because I'm taking trains that are underground, can't get any sort of signal that way. But you are, or I don't know what it's like. Since you said you do radio for university, that makes me think that you're in the UK or someplace that the UK, that England at some point colonized. Hungary. Okay. So Queen's English is probably what you're getting there. Yeah, I don't know what the broadcast rules are like in Hungary. In the US, there are certain things with the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, DCMA, that don't apply to broadcast radio but do apply to online broadcasts. And so there are different restrictions on like how many songs you can play from a single artist in sequence or from the same album. They're outdated because the idea at that point was that people could like broadcast an album and then have it ripped or like save the stream and then just have a straight up album. So it would be like a way to distribute music without the proper channels of people getting paid and such. But so we couldn't do like a Beatles show or something like that. Yeah, or here you get to listen to this new album. It had to be something more like that. Here's one song from this artist, and I can do one more in the hour. I've never been to Hungary, but hope that you're having a good time there. What language are you broadcasting in if you're broadcasting to so many different spots? And were you trying to do religious radio stuff? Okay, in Hungarian. I guess I don't actually know what language is spoken in Serbia most commonly. Ukraine, it's Russian if I'm not wrong, but I guess I don't know too much about the cultural specifics of that area. So, sorry if I'm saying anything that's insensitive or ill-informed. Just dumb, if I'm saying anything dumb. Okay. I don't know the political history of those regions. My college radio was a bit different. I'm trying to be aware, and generally I'm uninformed. Which seems to be something that people tend to think and is true of a lot of Americans. That there's not the idea. I can talk about sometime, I guess it was like 2 years ago now, my sense of time with COVID stuff has been off. So when I say last year in my mind, I'm like, last year was sort of non-existent, but it was existing and all these different bits. But there's a spot near here that has a bunch of studios, and I have studio space there, but I haven't been going because I want to be centered and stay home and not spread anything. And if I can work from home, which I can, I do. So anyway, like 2 years ago, they were doing a thing where all the people who at studio spaces for like a week, they offered some free meals here and there. The building did. And so near where I am, there's a significant Indian population, and the food that the people ordered was like catered stuff, and it was like buffet sort of style stuff, but they had dishes of food, and it was all Chinese food. There was an Indian woman that said she liked the Chinese food because it seemed like Indian Chinese, and in my mind I was like, the only thing is original Chinese, or like Chinese food that's made in China and stuff that's referencing that, and then Americanized Chinese food. And in my mind I was like, oh yeah, people immigrate all over the world to all of their parts of the world, so it would make sense that there's like Indian style Chinese food, especially when they're on the same continent and in closer proximity to one another. And so then I looked at different things at where there were populations of like just different groups of immigrants in different countries, and there's a lot of people who immigrated a lot of different places for a lot of reasons. But I felt sort of like just pretty insular, just in my own space, in my own head, when I was like, oh yeah, makes sense that there would be Indian Chinese food. It's also a way to find work, is to like bring in different like elements of whatever culture you're coming from to whatever other culture and all that bit. I'm not sure that I've ever had Hungarian style food. Hungarian food. Probably had stuff that's influenced or some elements of it, but I don't believe I've ever been to like a Hungarian restaurant. I don't know if there's much of a Hungarian population anywhere in the US. At least not any that I'm familiar with. Most of the international food that I've had, or non-US food that I've had, it's probably various like Eastern Asian and then some South Asian. So Chinese, Japanese, Korean, and then a little bit of some Filipino food here and there. There's a lot of people who immigrated to New Jersey from the Philippines. And so there are a number of Filipino people in this, well, in different areas of New Jersey, but yeah. And then some Caribbean, like Bahamian, South Indian, or not South Indian, but South Asian. And then like French and Western Europe sort of stuff, but not so much around where you're at or where you're broadcasting. Have you ever had much like American food, U.S. food? That's something that I think I've talked to people who are like Mexican and been like, does it track? Does it make sense? That people from the U.S. say American when like the entire North-South America, that it's the Americas, but we're just like, American, we're the only ones. And they were like, yeah, it makes sense culturally that you would be doing that. I can see that. There's a lack of spice in some American food. American food, a lot of it, at least for like white American food stuff, there's a lot of just like for home cooking, it's like take this can, mix it with this can, so it's sort of ubiquitous, like it's all the same kind of, which is comforting in some way because it's very easy to recreate dishes, but there's not sort of specificity to what it is. Trying to think like good, strong American flavors. And I don't know what I think about barbecue. Slow roasted barbecue. That's regional to different areas in the American South. I'm not sure. Sorry. If you're broadcasting different religious stations, I don't know if it's Islam or Judaism or Christian or what, but it is Islam, and I'm guessing that if you are practicing or if it's just culturally what you're used to, and maybe I'm completely off base, and that's where I'm trying not to sound so dumb, but I think about different pork dishes is what I'm thinking about for barbecue, because I was born in North Carolina, and North Carolina has pork barbecue, but different regions will have other meats as the primary ones, but it's mostly either pork or beef. Okay. Didn't know if you had any lack of pork in your diet. You have a lot of pork. Okay, I'm off base entirely. My bad. I'm trying to like talk slowly around it so that it sounds less like I'm just unaware. But if you talk a lot about something and then end up being wrong, it just sounds like you were slowly more and more confident about something that you didn't know anything about. And the you in that situation is me. I'm guessing there are a lot of American, well, you already said you don't like American food, but yeah, there's probably various American foods that you wouldn't like. There's also probably a lot that you'd think were super sweet. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that is like very soft and very sweet in American diets, at least compared to like what am I thinking? Like Europe. I know that anyone I know from like Western Europe, they do not like American bread for the most part. They're like, this is way too soft and way too sweet. It doesn't have any flavor. It's what I grew up with. You have your white bread toast. And then you can put something sweeter on top of it. You can throw like some jelly or some peanut butter. That's something that, I don't know if you've ever had like American peanut butter, but not like just crushed up peanuts, but like peanuts that have been processed and then had sugar added to them. Your Jifs and your Skippy peanut butters. That's something that, I don't know. There are people internationally who like peanut butter, but it's something that I feel like I like more than a lot of the world. Hello, Humnum World. Welcome. I'm talking about American food that people abroad might not enjoy. I have peanut butter like every day. Sometimes I just have a little bit of peanut butter as like a snack. It's got a little bit of protein in there, some sugar. And it's got a roasty flavor. I enjoy it. The other thing that I think about, I do like peanut butter and bananas. If you do like toast it or like do a peanut butter and banana sandwich and you heat it up, it takes on a different sort of consistency. The peanut butter gets super thin because when peanut butter gets warm, it gets thinner, which can make it more difficult to eat, but it's really nice. And the banana cuts it a little bit because peanut butter can be a little much to eat on its own if you don't have something else with it. I was gonna say the other thing that pops up a lot for like if there's a American food section in grocery stores abroad is marshmallow fluff, and I've had it, but it's not something that's like a staple. It's not something that Americans are eating on the regular that I know. Maybe there are, but there's a sandwich that some people make called a fluffernutter. And that's just marshmallow fluff, marshmallow spread, and peanut butter on a sandwich, and it is very sweet. I'm guessing that variations on burgers. It depends probably on how it's being treated. Hamburgers, hot dogs. Probably depends where you're at as to whether or not it's considered American and how much it might be in the, if it's been adapted. Because like you can get a burger and fries in a lot of places. I don't know what American food would be more difficult to get abroad. And a lot of American food is adapted from immigrants, and so there's like just various versions of it internationally. I think the main thing that sort of makes American burgers seem to be a bit more American is probably condiments, like what condiments you add to it and what kind of ketchup you have. Because like ketchup that you get in different places will have different flavor profiles. American ketchup is pretty sweet. It's also sweet in a different way because it's sweetened with corn syrup for the most part. That's something that is American. Corn syrup. It's in like everything. Because America has so much corn. You don't use like corn syrup when you're cooking things, but it is in like most things that have sugar in them because it's so much cheaper. So like American sodas, a lot of desserts that you'll buy that are like pre-packaged, foods, cereals, and if not corn in that format, it might have corn in another form. Pre-packaged foods will have corn syrup in it. Corn syrup in America, or ketchup in America, will have corn syrup. but other places aren't so don't have the same abundance or acceptance of corn in everything. You can even have like corn power your car. You have something that can run on ethanol. I believe most like prepackaged things use different recipes for Europe than they do for the US. Because like sodas in Europe have sugar in them. They don't have corn syrup. But in America you have to get like the more expensive or specialty soda to get the one that doesn't have corn syrup in it. And it'll be like an advertising, like a point of sale thing, like a point of interest, like made with real sugar, or with cane sugar, which isn't great for you, but it's not as bad and tends to taste a bit better. Well, maybe if you come to America, you'll find out. I went to Coke Museum. I went to school in Atlanta, to college, but I didn't actually go to the Coke Museum while I was there. But yeah, they show different sodas from different countries, and there's always the thing of like having someone try bitter apricot from Italy, which is surprising because you're in essentially like a sugar factory when you're in the Coke Museum, but the bitter apricot is like, it's carbonated, so it's a soda in that regard, but it's meant to be a palate cleanser that you just take like a little bit of. It's not meant to be like a full soda that you drink for thirst. It's like rinsing out your mouth or something sort of deal. A lighter sort of touch. But they don't explain that so clearly when you're just running around trying all the different things and being like, I like this one, it's sweet in a different way. One more frame to fill. I don't think I've ever been perfume testing. Alright, let's let this get dry for a second. And we'll grab these guys. see if I have them in order or not. I believe chocolate is different in the US. And part of that is that it's got like more distance to travel or stuff. I think it's sweeter. Americans tend to like just things sweeter in general. Probably less cocoa content too, because it's cheaper. I'm not surprised if anything is less of the thing in America. But for like being slightly bitter, most Americans don't like darker chocolates. Milk chocolate is the primary bit. If you only like dark chocolate, you probably are not going to be into your standard Hershey bar. I don't know if most disliked is the best, but it's more a specialty sort of deal. Move that down a little. Okay. Americans love sugary treats. Okay, let's get started image capture. If you find a like dark chocolate bar, it's going to be probably a little bit more expensive or more of a specialty sort of deal. And not at all advertised to kids. It depends what kind of chocolate you have, but I don't know what the ratio would be. A dark chocolate would be like 60 plus cocoa. I've had a higher percentage, but usually it's like you taste it more than you like eat a full bar of chocolate that's that dark. With this tape, just take like a little taste of it. Darker chocolates also are nice to like have with something that might be a richer flavor, or to like pair it with certain fruits, because they like accent each other. Or you can even like, you know, a wine or a coffee or something. Having a lot of distinctive, strong flavor. Oh yeah, people, well, something else that's US specific is like other places don't have iced tea for the most part. Like cold tea, you might have like cold green tea or something, but cold sweet tea. People intermittently have tea kettles, but it's not like something that everyone's using daily. I drink various hot teas here and there. I've been drinking a lot of green teas this last year because my mom got into drinking green teas and sent me gift cards to a tea company that she likes in New Mexico. That's appropriately called like New Mexico Tea Company, I think is what it's called. I haven't actually looked at stuff in a while, but it's what taught me to try some like different kinds of teas at different temperatures. Like, because I had always just been like, boil the water, put it in the bag. But yeah, super sweet iced tea. Something that you don't have across the US, but like around the South, it's pretty standard. And it's a lot of sugar. For that, you wouldn't put corn syrup in it if you're brewing it at home, or if you're getting it from a restaurant or something. But if it's a prepackaged tea of some kind, it might be corn syrup. I don't know. But for those, it's pretty much all black tea. It's going to be pretty uncommon if you order tea at a restaurant in the American South that it's not going to be iced. They'll be asking whether or not you want to sweet or unsweet. But it's the same kind of like black tea. That you brew it, and then while it's still hot from brewing, that's when you put in the sugar, because it melts a lot better. Or it dissolves, it doesn't melt. Because if you try to put sugar into actually cold iced tea, it barely dissolves, and then you just have like a bunch of sugar granules at the bottom of the cup. Doesn't mean I didn't try when I was younger, but that just was like, I want more sugar. I think Americans drink more milk than other countries. Like just glasses of milk. saw something recently that was things that surprised people that were like actually true in America. And one of them was like having full gallons of milk. I was like, yeah, people get full gallons of milk and drink them. That's dumb about the free milk versus whatever thing. That's annoying. You can have free water, but like if you're in a cafeteria sort of situation, you might have a bottle of water. The quality of tap water in the United States is pretty varied from place to place as to whether or not it's like particularly good to drink. Some places that are actually like closer to worse like water pollution stuff might actually have better water quality because they have to be more vigilant about processing it. Depends where you're at. So where I am, it's not the best because this area used to do a lot of like industrial production of things, and so there's like residual stuff that's in the ground and groundwater and such, and so we have a filter that put the tap water into. Done with scanning. So next step is Photoshop. After I rename all of these. And Photoshop pops up. File, scripts, load files in stack, browse here, email that person, find designs, grab these guys, load them up, and while that is loading, I'm going to put these away. Different pollutants everywhere. Got a few more of these to load up. did I put? I put these guys in here. No, I put them wrong. Folder. Okay. Oh, you're in Florida? What was I thinking? Florida has, depending on where you're at, you'll have sulfur water. That has a strong smell to it. That spot. We're good. Okay. Come on back. Let's close my eyes. I have the time wrong on here. Now let's blow this out. Not what I want to do. I want to save this as GIF. Turn off Photoshop. Switch out this image. 3617. Pull this up. Hit OK. And let's see what we got. This has a weird vibe to it. has a feeling like sort of in constant flux. Almost looks kind of like it's jittery, because of all those different different smear applications. So it's like never settled. It looks like it's shaky almost. Anyway. This is actually played back at 15 frames per second. So it's just a little bit faster, so it takes on a slightly different look. Just for sake of interest, I'll make this, what is 12 frames per second, I think, here. Wait, I don't know. Okay, what's one, I think it's like 8, okay, it's 8.3. 0.833333333. Now let's save this out so you can see the slight difference at it being 12 FPS versus 15. Okay, so let's copy, paste, duplicate it, pull this down a little bit. This one is exactly the same right now, but I'm gonna make it 12 FPS in just a moment. There it is. So you should be able to, it is calmer because it's slower. They do go in and out of sync, I guess every, or I don't know how to figure it out, but there's not that much difference. The difference of how long each frame is. Almost feels like the smear drags behind when it gets to the left. It does drag behind a couple spots. Here, let me pull this out. It'll probably be easier if I mute this guy. So hey, let's ban that thing. I forget how you ban. I haven't done it in a minute. How to ban on Twitch. Oh, it's /ban. Okay. CD made R123488. Okay. So the dragon bit. There's a few instances. So like right here with this one, it's got multiples, and then also this line is dragged out the back edge of it. This is the most chaotic still right here. It's got multiples happening. Trying to think. This one has a little bit more of that drag feel to it, because this eye sort of intersects that section, and the lips that are multiples are connected together. This one has some drag and has some parts that are pulling out. This one has multiples happening and some dragging of stuff. I guess that's more what I'm getting at. Anyway, I'll come back here and okay. Links. Drawing the smears just sort of takes some time to get more used to. Anyway, here's links. Here's my spiel if you want to interact in different ways. If you want to watch this live stream or other live streams in full, as well as some other YouTube videos, you can go to youtube.com/Traceloops or just search Traceloops and things should be popping up there. If you are interested in buying things from me, including the stills that I drew today and shirts and some other merchandise, you can go to traceloops.com/store. If you want to follow me on other platforms, I'm Traceloops on Instagram as well as TikTok. You can also, if you are interested in having something shipped outside of the US, or if you want to commission something, you can email me, traceloops@traceloops.com. You can also just email me with general questions and I'll do my best to answer. Sometimes the easier things to answer I accidentally let fall by the wayside because I'm like, I can answer that later. If you want to interact on Discord, there's my Discord server in the chat, and you can link out there. And I upload reminders of when I'm going live, as well as artworks of the day and links to new things that you can purchase and things like cassette tape stuff. Did I not put that? No, it's playing. Okay. Yeah. So appreciate you watching. Thanks for joining in and being a part of the conversation. I'll plan on being back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, thank you all for watching. If you have any last minute questions, you can throw them in the chat and I'll answer, but I'm gonna cut out the stream in just a moment. Yep, thanks. Adios. That's lip balm stuff. Anyway, bye.